As was pointed out, I am going to talk about building India through startups and give you a glimpse of what India can achieve. And I have titled it, not just building India through a startup, India's next 25 years, an opportunity or, and I left the rest to the imagination, because we can get this side or that side. It's up to us. And I'm going to talk about what can we actually do. I think you are all chartered accountant, you understand economics, but so therefore you know this much better than I do. I have learned a bit of economics because without that industry cannot be driven. R&D to commercialization cannot happen. But from 1991, we took a fairly different turn in our economy. From a very slow growth, we started growing on the average 6.57%. Last 30 years we have done that. What does it mean? You put 107 or 106.5 to the power of 30 and you get 7 times. And this is, our economy has grown 7 times in last 30 years in real terms, not taking inflation into account. And this really has changed India. Today there is so much of confidence because of what has happened in last 30 years. But the negative part is huge income disparity. I want to point out this because very often we don't understand and don't really take cognizance of that. And that can make a tomorrow, either India is going to continue in this path or can be pushed back. For example, this is the data of 2021. Did we know that 85% of India's household in end of 2021 had income less than 25,000 rupees per month? Less than 25,000 rupees per month, 85% of households. Now, this is huge importance and I am going to talk about it. Of course, on the positive side, India's education has got much stronger. I remember in 1980s, only 50% of our children used to go to school. Now, 95% of our children go to school. And a major role has been played by this noon meal scheme. Initially, we thought, what is this giving free food? But it basically brought all the low income people also into the school. And even though the quality is very uneven, basically we got the children to school. We produce today 1 million engineers a year. I remember in 1981 we used to produce 20,000 engineers a year. I am talking about engineers, one can talk about any other profession, but today we produce 1 million engineers. Quality is very uneven and we can talk about quality, but in spite of that, where have we got? India's strength. I want to point out this in the beginning. And what I have out here given you also given you how our age wise, how many children are there, 0 to 4, 10 to 14, 20 to 24. If you see, we have a peak population between 20 to 24. Below that it is falling, above that it is falling. This is something again not understood. We have been by and large captured the population growth. It has gone below 2 people per every couple. From here only it will decline, and the decline is evident. You see, 20 to 24 is what we have maximum. We have less between 10 to 14 and 14 to 20, and it's keep on falling. It's going to further fall. I think 1.4 billion today will probably peak around 1.5 or 1.55 and will start falling. The large young population. Now this is where our strengths can happen and our weakness can also happen. I'll talk about it. It depends on, in one way, I look at large population as large talent. But if you don't employ them, don't give them creative jobs, what will they become? They will become rowdies and they are going to disrupt. So we have both possibility, and that's the reason I wrote that OR thing. We have large market, 1.4 billion. If at a of course, our incomes are not very large, even though the growth has been very, very stupendous over last 25 years, 30 years. But at affordable, we have a large market. And from our own market, our economy can grow very rapidly. We have democracy. This is a strong. I will contrast this with China. With whatever the weaknesses are in our democracy, we can keep talking about it, independent media, ease of doing business, judiciary and regulators. The ease of doing business I want to point out because most of you work with business people. I don't know whether you really know. There are 26,134 clauses even today in India's laws by which you can be arrested while doing business. Now these are something that needs change, and we have begun reforms but not done enough. This is what I want to point out. During independence, we had practically no technological base. Whatever we had it before British. I will say around 18th century, India is known to be almost 25% of world GDP before British came. British eroded it. 200 years, they just destroyed it. There are, of course, a lot of work, but I recommend look at Dharamapalji's work, how much India has suffered in this period. So in 1947, we had practically no technological base. Other countries had gone far ahead. And that's a time it needed rapid development. And what happened is that 5 IITs were created. And I'm a product of one, and I'm a part of one. What were they created for? To build the industrial, scientific, and technological edifice of the nation in 1950s. They are fully autonomous institutions, supported by the best international universities, fully funded by government in India, much better than other institutions. Quality was to be the benchmark. In many ways, these were created, if you look back, in the model of our Takshashila and Nalandas, that they are supposed to lead the nation and make the changes and make India a technology nation. And what did we do? Well, our records are mixed. By 1970s, IITs were already known to be the best undergraduate institutes in the world, amongst the best. Our youngsters went after graduating, and all over the world, they have made a huge mark. We can get into it. I will not talk about it. What is less known, by 80s we are producing, our IITs together were producing some of the best MTech students. And today you go to any industry around the country, even in the smallest town, if a middle-sized industry is there, you'll find one of the CXO being a MTech from IIT. And they have played a very important role. Then by 90s, a gear again changed, and we started producing some of the best PhDs. Now, there are today 3,000 engineering colleges. Invariably, the better ones will have IIT PhD as their faculty. We are now able to create a large number of youngsters. And these youngsters have built India. The IT industry and the whole economic growth, it has come, to some extent we have played a role. But IITs are still not cornerstone in building industrial, scientific and technological edifice of the nation. We are still importing most technologies. This is something that we recognized in late 90s. We are still adopting at best to the Indian market and with some local raw materials. We are not doing anything fundamentally different. And that's a time many of us started thinking that we need to do something different. Understanding, so somewhere in 2000 we started, by late 2000 we built places like this IIT Madras Research Park. Tell you a little bit about it and then go on. Basically, why did we do this? We recognized that there are 3 sets of people required to make innovation happen and really make a large impact. The first is the best faculty. And the best faculty has a width of knowledge. And therefore, they contribute immensely to the new technology. The second is a person from industry, an experienced person from industry who knows how to make a prototype into a commercial product which can sell in the market. Because if it doesn't sell in the market, that technology is not very useful. And third is these youngsters, young graduates from these colleges. What is their strength? Believe it or not, their strength is they do not know that it cannot be done. They do not know that it cannot be done. You go to experienced engineer and come with a totally breakthrough ideas and say, we'll try to do this. An experienced engineer will say, sir, it cannot be done. This youngster does not know. And once inspired, they are willing to work with the faculty and the industry person 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day, and build something which is impossible. And this was what we understood in 70s and 80s through many things that in 80s and 90s, through many things that we did. And we built the research park. We already had the best faculty, and we were able to attract youngsters. Not just students from IIT, but from all these engineering colleges. What was missing is an industry person. So we built this research park. This research park, I will invite you if you are near Chennai somewhere, please come and see that. We built this as a startup. We built this to really bring industry also there and create an ecosystem for innovation. And one problem with this is that very often the industry, the established industry from where we bring the people, they are somewhat risk averse. And therefore, it's a breakthrough idea. They often sort of say, yes, but we don't want to play a major role in that. We don't want to do that. It's too much of breakthrough. Let somebody else do it. Has anyone else done it? And it is here we recognize that India's industry is risk averse, and startups on the other hand work 18 hours a day. They do not know that it cannot be done. They make impossible possible. And we therefore created our incubation cell. These two things were created about 12, 13 years back. What is the record? As I pointed out, we took some seed money and we borrowed money from banks, 500 crore rupees to build this whole thing. 12 years down the line, we did not take government money, we did not take grants from the industry. We built it as an autonomous institute, overall under the guidance of IIT Madras, but somewhat independent of IIT Madras. And we have paid back the loan with the interest, and we get about 50, 60, 70 crore rupees cash profit per year. So we got enough fund. And then we incubated companies. We have incubated 300 companies. We have hardly spent 2 crore rupees in creating this. 300 companies. And the value of these 300 companies, the public value of these 300 companies today is 36,000 crore. It's actually more like 50,000 crore, but not all of them have, and these are youngsters. They come to us at 22-year age. And in 7 to 8 years, they would have created something like this. There are many, many cases. We typically take 1% of the shares in a diluted form. We take about 3-4%. By the time we are ready to exit, we have 1% of the shares. And they are both board-driven companies and prominent industries plus full faculty, full autonomy from government and IIT administration. And we built companies, all sectors, all engineering sectors. You name it, and we did this. And as I pointed out, we have many, many cases where there were 2 youngsters who came from Delhi, from some unknown institute, some JP institute, once connected with me and said they want to do a startup. I brought them, I gave them 7,000 rupees per month and got them to start a company. We invested 10,000 rupees. Just before COVID, we were a little short of money. They said, sir, do you want to sell your shares? I said, sure. And they gave me 11.5 crore rupees. 10,000 rupees we invested, we got 11.5 crore rupees. Was it one-off? No. The second check came from this company called Medibuddy. There were again two youngsters, was paying 12,000 rupees in 2014. They came to me and they want to start a company. We invested barely 4,000, 4%. The paid up capital was 1 lakh rupees. And they started this company. This year, in April, they gave me 14 crore rupees. Third company. These were 3 kids who came from villages, Tamil Nadu villages. And when I met them, they were known to be a very good software programmer. They had got the best software award in a company called PayPal. When they met me, they said, sir, we are bored of this work. We have done it. They barely knew English. They told me that basically we are made to believe that if you want to do software, you don't need to know English. And we did not know English. But over time, we learned that software and English are totally two different things. We have done enough work for PayPal and other companies. We have earned enough. We want to leave and start teaching children who come from vernacular background, software in vernacular. And they started a company, I heard them start a company called Goovy. We once again invested this time 5,500 rupees with them. They have become so big, they gave, 2 months back, they gave me a check of 4.28 crore rupees in return. There are at least 30 companies which have given us 10,000 times return. Now, these are all youngsters between 20s and 30s. There is a youngster who came from some college whose name I have never heard in Calcutta, done some computer science but did not know any computer science. Came to me and said, sir, I have heard enough, I want to work with you. Today, he is running a company, yet not as big as any of this, but his company value is 100 crore rupees. And he's doing a major job in heating and cooling. So we have examples after examples. The question is, what did we do and how did we achieve this? Then, once all this was known 2 years back, just before COVID, in fact, the meeting before, a month before COVID, and board sort of says, fine, you have done this. What will you do over the next 10 years? This time the focus should be entirely India. Put a challenge, and they called it a 10x challenge. By 2030, 31, we are supposed to achieve this. And they said, very few R&D in India result into scaled commercialization. Whenever I buy a product, I buy a air conditioner, it comes from Korea. I buy a laptop, it comes from China or some other place, Taiwan. Take 30 products where R&D is done in India and take each of them to 1,000 crore rupees revenue per year. This is a challenge over the next 10 years. And we have accepted this challenge. We will do this. We will identify the 30 products where R&D is largely done in India and we will take it there. That was not the only thing. Then they said, we have been so far doing 45 startups per day here. He says, 45 startups, very good what you are doing, but that doesn't go anywhere. Do 1,000 startups per year. We say, how will you do 1,000 startups? They say, go and adopt colleges in tier 2, tier 3 towns. There are enough youngsters. Inspire them. Get them to become entrepreneurs. Adopt them. Do 1,000 by 2030, 31. We have taken this challenge. They said very few people, our board members who are prominent industrialists said, there are very few people in our companies, practically none, who are known to be in the top 1 to 2% technology capability in the world. And they say, you need to create it at large scale, 500 ranchos. The rancho name came from this movie, 3 Idiots. Tech wizard, who are in the top 1 to 2% in the world. Create 500 ranchos every year by 2030. How do you do it is your problem, but do it. Get India to become leader in 5 areas. India is not known to be the leader in the world. Historically, we were. But today, IT services, yes. Some generic pharmaceutical, yes. But not in other areas. So choose 5 areas and make India a leader. How you do it is again your problem. We have already chosen 3 areas. climate change technologies and technologies towards getting India to be net zero. We want to be number 1, 2, 3, 4 in the world. Then we have chosen assistive technology for people with disability and geriatrics. We should put 20,000, 50,000 engineers to work in this and create the best technology in the world. There is no reason why we cannot. Third, India has done immensely in fintech, and I myself have played a role. I mean, this UPI, etc., that you saw, I was a chairman of Mobile Payment Forum of India for almost 6 years, and we wrote down the initial protocols. Today, fintech is doing extremely well, but it is fintech for the top 20-25% people. What we are taking up is fintech for inclusion. People whose incomes are less than 25,000 rupees per month, household income. Can you actually help them with the right saving, right loans, right advisory, right insurance, such that their next generation go up? Fintech for inclusion. That was the next challenge that we have taken up, and we are determined that we are going to get there. Now, I'll change gear. This is something that we have done, and the challenge has been thrown up. What is India's next 25 years look like? Empower youth to build technology and business to solve India's problems. Enabling youth. We must understand we cannot compromise with scale. India has large numbers. We cannot do it in small numbers. We cannot compromise with quality. Today, we have to some extent. Often people say scale and quality doesn't go together. We have to figure out how you take scale and quality together. And we have to be inclusive. The last person has to be part of it. School education for inclusion. Today, for example, yes, there are government schools, but how many of you send your children to government schools? We can try to improve quality, but will you send your children to government schools? Can we create good governments, good private schools, where fees are not more than 500, 600 rupees? Many of us can afford 5,000 rupees per month. But can we create schools which are 500, 600 rupees per month? And can we give them a decent education? In cities, for example, very badly needed. What will happen otherwise to children? If you don't educate them, the low-income people, and get them a career path, the only other thing that they will learn to do is to become gundas. Sorry to use the term. And politics will use it. That will not help the country. So we need that. Higher education. We have 27% students going for higher education. We need large quality, large university. Today we can create digital university. We need universities which trains 500,000. Each best university should train 500,000 students. We have only 20, 30,000 students. Even in the, not even in IITs, we have 12,000. That's not enough. We need 10 such universities which train 500,000. And can we do that? Easy entry. We can't have a bottleneck of the entry, but exit should be performance-based. Academic-based education to be complementary to skilled-based education, because we have to employ. We have youth population, large youth population. They let them service not just India, but the whole world. We have to employ them. Very important that every person is employed. Any person who is not employed, I want to repeat, is going to be a negative thing for us. We cannot have youngsters not employed. Our young population to be prepared for servicing the world population, and we are the only one who can do that. Our next 25 years is an opportunity for doing something like this. Simple and high quality life for everyone. Healthcare, use modern and traditional healthcare technology. Our traditional healthcare technology is very good. We have not paid attention to this. Our Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, all of them have gems. We have to somehow weave them together to provide quality and affordable basic healthcare. Leverage ICT as much as possible. Today we have these tools. It is possible for us. Promote the other important thing. It is not just about medicines. Something that we in India knew, that health primarily comes from food, exercise, yoga and lifestyle. India always adopted a certain lifestyle which was healthy. We are today running after a lifestyle which is not ours, and we are getting more and more into serious problem. Fulfilling aging. India's concept of once again being born basically meant that when you are leaving this world, you are leaving this world to be born again in another body. That gave us the strength that we don't want to just prolong an unhealthy life. If I am lying there, I can't move, I can't get better, why do I want to live? I want to go and come back someday. So we need to incorporate these values in healthcare. I know I'll be beaten up for saying something like that, but something which is really fulfilling, and not, as long as I can function, I can do well, fine, great, do everything, but we need fossil-free transport. We have, 46 of the top polluting 100 cities in the world are in India. 46 of the top 100. We cannot have that. We need fossil-free transport. And those of you who live in Bangalore, to travel from anywhere to anywhere, 1.5 hours. Back and forth from office, 2.5, 3 hours. In Bombay, in Bangalore, and soon in other cities. That cannot be our future. If you are looking at next 25 years, at most 30 minutes, going and coming back. I'm talking going 40 minutes, not more than that. How do we design transport system for that? How do we design our life? We have to start thinking big. We cannot just copy what is available anywhere else. We need to think big. Our vision has to be distinctly Indian. We of course need abundance of communication for everyone and everywhere. That is happening. What we need is 100% renewable energy. And we need, of course, solar, wind, decentralized storage, electric and hydrogen-based transport. And we need use hydrogen for fertilizer, steel, cement production, carbon dioxide capturing. All these technologies are very much possible. In next 10, 20 years, we can become the leader, with or without working with somebody else. I'll say there are enough scientists in the country which can produce the best technology and most affordable technology. And we will do that. That part will be done. This is one of our 5 goals, that by 2030 we want to get to be the leaders in the world. But abundance, but consume as needed for a simple living. Avoid energy waste and conserve energy wherever possible. All of you know what Gandhi ji had said, the world has enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. This is what India was. Somewhere we are drifting. Taking more and more energy consumption doesn't make our life better, happier, or fulfilling. And yet we are running in a certain direction that somebody else has taught us. And we don't even examine whether that's the direction that we need to go. That is what we say is progress. Why does it make it more better? We haven't asked the question. If today we consume very tiny fraction of energy compared to, let's say, United States. We start consuming per capita the same. We are 103rd in terms of per capita energy consumption. We start consuming the same amount. If Indonesia starts consuming the same amount per capita, if Africa starts consuming the same amount per capita, the world cannot survive. This will be the end of the world. While we work for technology, for carbon neutral technologies and become leader, at the same time we have to assert ourselves. We will do simple living. And simple living is not unhappy living, it's happy living, fulfilling life. And we can't destroy the earth. This is something, our tradition. As a child I was taught to worship nature. All of us. And this is something that we really need. water, precious resource, and yet we have been wasting water like anything. We don't have sufficient and safe drinking water. There is a very beautiful slogan that our Prime Minister gave in 2015, Har boond se adhiktam upaj. Unfortunately, I don't know what has happened to that slogan. This is what we have to adopt. This is what our Prime Minister wants. But are we following that? Huh? We are pumping more and more groundwater, starving, creating problems. We are creating deserts. We cannot continue that. We have to recycle every drop. And technology is possible. In the next 5 to 7, 10 years, we can develop technology for that. And each of these technology can be developed to give you return on investment. I am not talking about any technology which will not give us return on investment. We have to work to make it. That's where the economists, chartered accountants, scientists, technologists have to work together to take every meaningful technology, develop in India, and take it to give ROI. No point in, because if it does not give ROI, it cannot scale. And if it does not scale, it's a museum piece. It's of very limited use. Fintech for inclusion, I talked about it. We can't let the 80% of our population at very, very low income. We need to really focus on this. Agriculture must become a profitable venture. 4 days, this week, I think Monday, there was a statement by our agriculture minister, I don't remember, state agriculture minister or the agriculture minister in parliament. The average household income of a farmer, monthly income, is 10,186 or something like that, my number may be wrong, 10,200 rupees. Average monthly income of a farmer is 10,200 rupees. Many of us will not even sit for 1 hour in a meeting for 10,000 rupees. Average monthly income. And this is not something, this is something that we have created. We cannot have that. Our villages has to become different. Our villages, 15% of people can be engaged in actively in agriculture, large population, we need a lot of food processing industry, services, small agro processing unit. Why can't we have a BPO in every village? We created wealth in India by bringing work from outside, by creating BPO. Now why can't we create BPOs in every village? And what we need is traditional modern technology mix to good yield conserving. We need 250 kg per person, not just for people, but for our animals. We have starved our animals for food. We talk, say, Gai hamari mata, and we starve our cows. This is not India. This plenty of forest, land and vegetation. We have to revert to traditional hardy crops such as millet, require less wallet. One can get into details and for each of this. That's not what I want to do. Technology for digital governance. Today, fortunately, one of the things that we have done very well is in digital. But is there a single citizen card? Anytime you go to anything, a mutual fund account, bank account, oh, you have not, you need Aadhaar card, you need a PAN card, you need this card, that card, you have to validate that every year. What is this? Can we have a single card with multi-factor authentication, whether it is local language, voice, fingerprint, or any one of them, password? And can I do all my transactions? Can I get all my government services online and with auto approval? That if it is not returned and corrected within week 10 days, or maybe 15 days, or maybe a month, it will be auto approved. Can we dream of India of like this? I know I am putting challenges. It may look as a criticism, but these are something that we can achieve, and this is what we need to work for. Is all this possible? Certainly, if we strengthen its youth, India's youth. Our young people are very good. Believe it or not, Our young people, you motivate them. I have seen enough of that. You come to our research park and you will see. You motivate them. They are much better than we were, or any of our earlier generation. A lot of them come from lower middle class and middle class. They have the hunger and they want to do something different. Train them, motivate them, inspire them and empower them. Every citizen should get right opportunity to flourish, irrespective of caste, religion, geography and economic status. We have to avoid strife. We have to figure out, settle things. Because this is the time India has to go past its long colonialism and say, we are here, we are all part of it. We want to all progress. And all family, we need all families above poverty line. In 2047, strong democracy has to have a voice for everyone. Thriving entrepreneurship opportunity. I strongly believe the only way to do it is you create entrepreneurs. Large number of entrepreneurs, great governance, flourishing spiritual and cultural tradition. We have a long history of that. But history alone doesn't matter. We need to have it today. This is what we should be known for. And if we do this, as the largest nation in the world, India should aim to become the natural leader. Not by saying, I'll be the leader, I'll be the leader. Let's just do all this and we'll be the natural leader. What we have tried to do at IITM Madras Research Park is take up some impossible tasks which I briefly talked about. Started with nothing. And we created this wealth, we created youth, we created the confidence. And I believe India is at a stage where we can multiply it 100-fold and 1,000-fold. We are only taking 10x. India needs to take it 1,000x. And all of us have to join together. I would specifically request all the chartered accountants. I have been on the boards of almost 50, 60 companies over last 15, 20 years and have worked with large number of chartered accountants. In fact, the conception of this research park was there was a young chartered accountant who was on the board of a company. One day after the board meeting, I was just chatting with him and I said, I have that dream. He said, sir, I would like to help you if I can. I asked him to come. He sat down with me. In 1.5 hours, we got the basic economics structure of a park like that, and that's how we started. So I think we need to work together with technologists, economists, chartered accountant, entrepreneurs, businessmen to change India. And I'm very, very clear that we can do it, and we just have to be determined to do it. Thank you.